Come with me on the tasty trail with Benjamin.
Benjamin on the Tasty Trail in Korea, and we are in Cheongdong-jin Station, which is one of the closest train stations in the world to the sea, as you can see. It is really a wonderful place. Actually, we are on our way to Gangneung, which is a famous place for tofu. This is today's special theme, tofu or bean curd, dubu as we call it in Korea. Come with me. This is the bean curd table, the tofu table. Look at what we have here. We have a lot of different things to enjoy. In the center, we have the main dish, which is today the sundubu jjigae. So I should explain. Dubu is the word for tofu or bean curd in Korea. And sundubu means pure in a way because it's the dubu or tofu, which is not separated from the liquid, from the fluid. So it's very soft, and you see it's actually like the curd, very liquid curd. And this one has been prepared here as a very famous dish, which is the jjigae or a stew. So let's go and have a try at this sundubu jjigae, which is very famous in this village. It's absolutely delicious. And we have here the regular dubu or regular tofu. Here it is. This is the very famous Chodang tofu. Chodang for the name of the village. I'm going to taste it. It's pure. Very different from the one which is made in factories, of course. Very pure taste. Here we have the same one which has been pan-fried. So this is fried tofu. The texture is different, although the taste is quite similar. You have this fried skin on the top, so it's more exciting in a way. And this one, it's what we call the jorim dubu, or braised tofu. You can braise it in soy sauce, or like this one in a red hot chili pepper paste and powder. You see, one of the reasons why the tofu is so popular on Korean tables, there are much more reasons than what I'm going to say, but one of the basic ones, it's because the tofu is white, and it can go along with any kind of food. Look on this table. You have the greens, here's the seaweed, but it could be vegetables. You have pickled vegetables, you have the regular kimchi here, some egg roll, and here we have cucumber kimchi, fish over there. So you see, the white tofu can complement very well the other colors and textures. When when you make the tofu, you add some magnesium chloride. So you have magnesium, but you have also calcium, a lot of calcium, which is very important, as you know, for the growth, for the bones, and especially for the growth of children. And it's also very good for the nerves because of the lecithin you can find in the tofu. So for the nerve cells and also for the nerve transmission. So it's very good, they say, for the brain and especially for memory. So lecithin, calcium, but you have also isoflavone, which is a very important element that we call the vegetal estrogen. That's why it's very good for women, especially who are experiencing menopause, to fight against the bad effect, the side effects of menopause, since it's a natural estrogen. So it's very good for women as well. So all this make it a perfect dish for what? For healthy diet. So that's why it's so popular nowadays in our well-being era, and also for diet. If you want to have a diet, you can replace your animal proteins by tofu and you won't be sick because it brings you a lot of very important basic elements. Market close to Gangneung. I couldn't come to Gangneung and not come to this fish market, which is so famous in Korea. Here you have a lot of fresh products directly from the sea every day. Of course, they bring new stuff, and even if it's winter time, we have a lot of things. What else? Anyway, you have like almost everything you can imagine. It's a wonderful place, and as usual in Korean markets, you can not only see and buy, you can also eat. Okay, so that's what we call the Mokja Golmok, which means the food street, the place to have, you know, like here, look, all the grilled fish. This one are the small calamari, small squids, and different type of fish, even shrimps grilled on the barbecue. This one are grilled with their eggs inside, the raw. Mashketta. So you see, that's the spirit of the Mokja Golmok, which means let's eat street. So in this kind of place, you know, you cannot be picky. So you are not going to ask for a fork and a knife and, you know, take me out the skin and the bones. And it's not a 5-star French restaurant. It's a Mokja Golmok, so eat everything. So here I am in front of the Ho's family house. The family called Ho is very famous for at least one person, Ho Gyun, who is the author of Hongildong, a 17th century novel, which is the equivalent of our Robin Hood. But that's not the only famous person in that family. His sister was a famous poetess, and his father, Ep8 was a famous person because of a different reason, which is much more important for us today, because he invented the Chodang tofu. Chodang is a small village close to the city of Gangneung, and we are in the Chodang village now. And Mr. Ho had the idea one day to use the water from this well here, this very fresh, clean water, to make the tofu. But it was not the only idea he had. He had also the idea to put some of the sea water from the very close seashore in the tofu, using it as a coagulant instead of the regular sea salt residue. And it made a very clean and soft textured Chodang tofu. So that's the origin of our tofu. And since then, it was very, very popular. And at the end of the 19th century, it started to be commercially developed, and you have even nowadays restaurants, but even a large factory making the Chodang tofu. So that's the place for the dubu. 안녕하세요. Good morning. Hello. Okay, the original dubu from Chodang, and this is the secret recipe. So it's quite simple in a way, but it's also easy to fail. So I think we should have a look carefully at the different steps.
콩 가를 거예요. 보실래요?
네. Okay, let's have a look. It's starting now. 시끄러워요.
아,
It's
시끄러워요.
noisy. Bitter, and it's very hard to digest, so you shouldn't have this what we call a soy meal, the soy puree. Very special smell of the beans, a green special smell, you know. That's my dubu making day. So the idea is to collect as much milk as possible. I say milk, but of course you understood it has nothing to see with cow, animal milk. We call it milk because of the sameness of the color and the texture, but it's not milk at all. Alright, so it's time for us to take out the duyu or soy milk. Wow. Very good. It's very flavorful. Looks like a soup almost. Not like milk at all. Okay, so this is the container of seawater pumped from deep sea, and that's a very pure water. Alright, and we are going to use this seawater as the coagulant. That's the secret of the house and all the village of Chodang. It's using the seawater. So what can we use as the coagulant? That we call sometimes also bitter. It's possible to use just sea salt or the residue of sea salt. We can use also, nowadays we use chemical coagulant. Something which is actually, whatever it is, similar. It must be similar to, maybe you know the Epsom salts, which are actually magnesium sulfates, and we need something which is, precisely speaking, magnesium chloride. And this is the bittern or the brine, and we can find that in salt, sea salt, and here seawater. You see the coagulation process a little bit started? You see on the edge? Look, it started to coagulate. Wow, we say kochipinda in Korean. It's like the blooming, the blossoms of flowers in spring. Look, it looks like cherry blossom. It's really beautiful, like small flowers all over the pot. Like also, it's like a kind of milky cloud in the sky. Alright, now it's night time and we have been waiting for all day long, and I think that the tofu is ready. It has been pressed for many hours. Look at that. It seems perfect. 사장님 어땠어요?
잘 됐어요.
잘 됐어요? 다행입니다. 저도 이렇게 해도 돼요?
해도 돼요.
Okay, me too. I want to check. Oh, 아직도 따뜻한데? Yeah, it's still warm. Nice texture. I think it's fine. Okay, look at that. So beautiful. The opening of the tofu. Very good, very good. Love it. Art, pure art, modern art, abstract. 생강하고 꿀. 고맙습니다. Ginger tea. Wow, that's nice. Especially on a cold winter day like today. 잘 마시겠습니다. Okay, so you know you can have your cup of tea and go around. But me, I have another mission. I want to buy something for my sweet tooth. I'm going to do for our team a special dessert based on bean. Of course, you know, today bean is the hero of the feast, so we are going to do a special dessert.
That bird with feathers of blue is waiting for you back in your own backyard. You'll see a castle in
Okay, that's done, then we are done. Let's go.
Back in your own.
It's a secret recipe that I'm going to share with you tonight. It's a kind of fusion. You know, I'm not a fan of fusion food, but tonight I'm going to do something a little bit like fusion, even though we are going to stay with the bean, the soybean, this time using the soybean powder, one which has been roasted. So I'm going to show you the way we do it. It's very simple, actually. That's it. So I think I have to taste it, right? And I don't know why, but I like it very much usually. Good. I think it's just the kind of roasty taste of the beans plus the salt, which makes the difference. Very good. So, actually I prepared that for the team, not for myself. So I'm going to prepare a bowl for each of us.
콩가루가 들어가서 그런지 굉장히 고소한 맛이 나요.
생각보다 맛있다. 이 떡이 그 팥빙수에 들어가면서 이거 재료로 섞어 먹으면 맛있을 것 같아요. 네, 팥빙수 떡.
And we are still working with the beauty not of the tofu but of the soybean. As you can see, it's a really ubiquitous food in Korea. You have the bean sprouts, you have the powder here for desserts, you have the tofu, you have the doenjang, which is the fermented bean paste. Really, soybeans are really at the center of the Korean diet. That's what I wanted to show actually with this dessert. In the past, when a girl was entering an aristocrat family, she was supposed to know how to cook 99 recipes. Among them, there were 33 of them, so 1/3 of the recipes devoted only to bean curd or tofu. That is just to show how much the cooking of tofu was important in Korea. It is still nowadays, and not only the traditional way, but also the fusion style. Nowadays, we try to do a lot of experiments around the bean curd and different ways, modern ways to cook it, mixing it with Western ingredients or Western dishes. And that's, for example, the origin of the famous tofu steak. And that's this kind of dishes we are going to discover together in this very interesting restaurant. Come with me. Wow, here we have this very interesting fusion food. So you know I'm not a big fan usually of fusion, but today I make an exception. Well, usually fusion is difficult to achieve because most of the time it's artificial and most of the time the people who do it don't master both cuisine. But in the case of tofu, we have a different history actually. You know, this kind of fusion has been made for years and years now. And I think nowadays we can approach something which is interesting for the taste, the texture, and everything else. Look at that one. I'm going to start with the steak, if you don't mind. The bean curd steak. The principle is very simple, actually. We have a steak, but made of beans, a vegetarian steak. So it's not anymore about eating meat, but instead of nowadays the very criticized beef meat, you can have your tofu steak. The texture is similar, and nowadays we manage to have, with a different sauce based on the highly proteinic beans, even the taste of beef itself. It's very nice. So this is not a vegetarian dish because you see we have here seafood. Seafood with a 청국장. You remember 청국장? It is soybean fermented, freshly fermented, and made as a sauce on top of the steak. It's the sauce which gives the tasty flavor, the meaty flavor. So if for any reasons, political, ethical, religious, or simply diet, you don't want to eat meat or beef, try this kind of steak. Here we are at the famous Gyeongpo Lake, close to Gangneung. This place was famous among the late dynasty scholars. They used to come in one of the many pavilions around the lake and watch one of the 4 moons 4 moons stands for the moon which is reflected in a lake, the moon in the sky, the moon which is reflected in one of the drinking cups, and also the one which is reflected in the beloved person's eyes. I'm sure they were having during these drinking parties some tofu as a side dish. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did watching these tofu recipes today, and the way to make the tofu was also a great discovery. I'm sure you are going to try one of these tofu dishes at home because it's a very healthy diet. So I meet you next week for a new tasty trail with Benjamin in Korea. Bye bye, au revoir. 누가 그랬어요? 들렸어요?